And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great show today. I have an excellent guest, a friend of mine who are going to be my guest on the show. And his name is BERGQUAM of Real America Voices. And I got a great panel, and we're going to talk about immigrations. We're going to talk about his undercover work that he did when he posed to be a migrant. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know you're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. Welcome to the show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David, and thank you. Folks, we got an excellent show today. I had an old friend of mine who is taking a little time out, and I asked him if he would come on our show and grace us and talk a little bit more about immigrations. BERGQUAM, who is a correspondent, international correspondent, that works with Real America Voices, Steve Bannon, War Room, Jack Posobiec, Charlie Kirk shows. He's the undercover reporter that has been spilling a lot of news about what's actually going on at the border. So he's going to be our guest today, and he should be in shortly. But I want to get my guest in. But first and foremost, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yeshua of Nazareth, who makes it possible for me to be here. All you listening who woke us up this morning, we should be thankful and grateful. And let me get my guest in here. Hey, Doc, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You know, it's we got a great guest coming in today, and he's going to shed a lot of light on immigrations and what he saw as an undercover agent. He went undercover as a migrant.
Wow.
And so, you know, he paid the money and he took the trek. I mean, all the stuff he's seen, we got some footage we'll play about that. But I know you wanted to get started early on a couple of topics. Let our listeners know what's on your mind today.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about this Target boycott that's going on. It's being led by Pastor Jamal Bryant here in Georgia. And, you know, in his opinion, they've made headway. The stock has gone down from $138 to about $93. They've lost $12 billion in revenue. They really, you know, from their vantage point, they're like, we're sticking it to them. You know, they are going to capitulate and do what they want us to do. You know, they are still heavily behind DEI. They're also very heavily behind the LGBTQ plus community. That Target, you know, basically they put that out of the stores because there were other patrons that said, we don't want this in the stores. We definitely don't want it in the children's section. So there were a lot of things happening on with Target, but it just really floored me. I was like, wow, you're fighting for something that does not benefit you. I mean, DI does not benefit Black people. We've covered this on the show, you know, more than once, but I just found it interesting that this is the hill that they want to, you know, climb on and die on, you know, and then saying, okay, we only have a select few people that are going to deal with Target, you know, if you're not a part of this panel and group. And I'm like, okay, I respect what you're doing. I don't really shop at Target
Me
personally.
neither.
You know, it's one of those things. Maybe if I'm out of town and I really need something and I can't find it anywhere else, I'll go to Target. But I find I have better options out there. So, you know, so, but that's just how I shop. No, you know, no dig on Target. But like I said, I find it fascinating. You know, Target's been put under a lot of abuse. You know, they survived a lot of I won't call them raids, but there were times when, you know, their stores got, you know, trashed during some of the riots that happened. And some of them decided to rebuild in those communities, some of them didn't, and they left. And with them, they took jobs away from those areas. So, like I said, I find it, that's just one of the stories I came across, and I was like, I gotta share it with you guys because it's happening, it's out there.
I want to say this about the Jamal Bryant leading a bunch of parishioners and other people with the false narrative of DEI, because, as you know, DEI does not benefit Black people. But the people that it does benefit is the carpetbag preachers like Jamal Bryant and Reverend Al Sharpton. Now, you would think that they're promoting the homosexual lifestyle. They're pushing the LGBT group. And so they're acting like they speak for all Black Americans, and they do not.
No.
The black community is not as welcoming for the LGBT stuff to be pushed in our faces in such a the way that it is. And so we're saying, you know, hey, Al Sharpton don't count. Okay, he's past his time. The only thing that's going to happen is he's a hustler and a race baiter, just like Jamal Bryant. Sharpton is passing the mantle over to him to say, hey, you know what? We can attack these issues. We can make money, because at the end of the day, Sharpton and Bryant will go back in. They'll give them money to call off the boycott, and it'll be business as usual. So this is a form of extortion that Jamal Bryant is using with Al Sharpton to get money out of a company that clearly the stockholders don't want the DEI, nor do they want the LGBT stuff in the store the way they stuck it in there. So this is just a way for Jamal Bryant and Al Sharpton to extort money, because they have a name, to extort money from the companies that supposedly are a violation of DEI when DEI is totally illegal.
Right. Like, and, you know, Tabitha Brown, you know, she actually has some of her products in Target. And I know that she initially, you know, people were saying, hey, we got to boycott Target. And she was like, you know, when you do that, you actually hurt Black businesses that are in the store. And what I do applaud from her is she's like, you know what, just buy it from me directly. So she's doing a lot of her work, just direct sales, right? I think you can also get her items off of Amazon, but she's definitely, you know, being a very, I would say, flexible entrepreneur. You know, if you can't buy it there, you can buy it from me, or you can buy it in another venue. Because, you know, the day of the big box stores, they're kind of going the way of the dinosaur, just like malls. You know, people shop more online than they do in person. You know, part of it I like, part of it I don't like. But like the big box stores trying to take over, I'm telling you, it's going the way of extinction, you know.
The big box. Dre, what's up, Dre?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Oh man, how you doing, my brother?
Doing well.
Well, you know what, guys, we got our approval, so we about to launch the channel and everything, man. I thank you guys for getting involved, and we making this happen, man. The people are gonna love it. You know, BERGQUAM, he'll be with us shortly. He's getting things together there. But we was talking about how Al Sharpton them. See, these old guys continue to race baiting. They do not address any issues. You would think at the way that the migrants came, you would think Al Sharpton would have came against the migrants and came against the government for adding problems to the Black community that we have already had. Why would you add more? But he's been totally silenced. You know, what's your thoughts on that, Dre?
Well, it's more of the same, because Hakeem Jeffries came out the other day and said that they need to show the voters that they're serious about securing the border. and that the administration and Democrats were slow to react to the surge that happened at the border. So that didn't answer the question that the other Democrat had. That her question was, what is the plan for Democrats to deal with the distrust from voters about you guys being able to protect the border? So that was the non-verbatim question, and he explained that by saying what they should do without giving any details. So it's more of the same. They don't want to get into details, and they have no plan.
No,
right.
No.
And it's totally rhetoric that they put out there, and they keep poisoning, especially Black people. They're using Black people to put money in their pockets. They get Black people all emotional, and when we start doing like Reverend Al Sharpton, the good old days, and all that kind of stuff, man, those days are gone by.
Yeah.
And under their supposed watch, they've created no economic development in the Black community.
Yeah.
They haven't stood up for Black people's civil rights. They have done nothing but sit back and be nothing but pawns for the Democratic Party. They're little watchdogs. And then when something happened, here come Al, here come Jamal Bryant. Yeah. What's the brother Crump? He can't even speak. You need to take some speaking classes before you Crump being Crump before he start talking, but it's the same old rhetoric, and there's never no progress for the Black community under their type of leadership. And that's why God done brought us to the forefront. He's tired of watching them. You need young blood like us now who gonna say, you know what? Let's get rid of all that. Let's look at what we have right now, and let's bring solutions to the problems that we have today, man.
Yeah, I think it's really sad how the Democrats, they don't get it. I mean, we've got Democrats right now flying down to El Salvador, trying to get someone out of prison so here's the thing. Even if they got him out, they still have to send him back and put him in prison because he's been sentenced in his own country and in ours. I don't understand. I mean, literally, we have Democrats flying down there. I pulled up two of them. Let's see. Robert Garcia, who's a Democrat representative of Florida, and Maxwell Frost from Florida. And I'm just like, what are y'all doing? I mean, there was a time when there were certain things you did in politics. It was political suicide, right? It was like, you're never going to recover from this. But now the stunts, and in my opinion, this is a stunt. This is to get their name out there and get people talking about them, because as long as people are talking about them, good or bad, they think it's going to bode well for them. But, I've got news for you. People have woken up, and they are tired of our own government supporting illegal activity blatantly. Like, this is blatant. There's no blurred lines. You are supporting a criminal, and that's
well. I just got a quick text from Ben, and I want us to start playing a little bit footage on Ben. Folks, Ben BERGQUAM is a journalist who is part of Real America Voices, the network that a lot of Black folks don't know about. But it is going across the country. Ben and I have been friends. We were introduced together a few years ago by Terry Newsom. And, we're both on the front. All of us are on the front line. But Ben has done a lot of work. I'm going to play a clip that he did some work here in Chicago. Check it out.
Down here, under the overpass, American citizens sleeping in tents. They make them live in these tents while they're putting illegals up in high-rise hotel buildings. This is how they want you to live, America. This is what the Democrats think of you. This is World Economic Forum's "You will own nothing and be happy." This is the Great Reset. It's all connected to that. Illegal immigration, it's all connected. The abandonment of the American people, the abandonment of the rule of law, the abandonment of God, family, country. This is how they want you to live. We just came a couple blocks from keeping the illegals up on high-rise buildings and giving them 3 meals a day, and you guys are stuck out here.
Yeah, I mean, it don't make no sense. I mean, we really need the help. It's cold out here, and we can't even get on our own city buses. Feel like immigrants in our own city, basically.
Do you feel like you've been abandoned by Mayor Johnson and the Democrats?
Totally.
Wow.
It's to the point that it's like, man, do I really want to leave Chicago to try to find something that, better conditions to help me get a job or something, anything,
Well, God bless you, man.
Man, I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
And I hope this reached the right person. Trump 2024, all the way.
Guys, now we was together that same day. We took them. We was at the place where they was bringing illegals in, and they was bringing them in buses. I mean, and they would have had warming centers. I was there that day. They went further on, but we was together earlier. But they was bringing them in buses. They had warming center for them, and that was just a few blocks away from where they was treating the illegals like kings and queens. That we saw Chicagoans, veterans sleeping under the tent. See how they live in, man, compared to how they did illegals, man. And that's the reason why we need to get rid of the leadership in here, Dre. It has to go. We can't continue like this. But BERGQUAM started bringing this message forward. He was the one, Steve Bannon and all the other shows, they start presenting this type of stuff because, regular media, you never saw that in regular media. You didn't see that at ABC and all those other places. No, not like how they did it and broke it down. Not like how we're doing it and breaking it down. Your thoughts on that, Dre? And I got another clip we're going to put together that we can take a look at before he gets here.
Yeah, and we see the gentleman out there, and one of the first things that he's
saying. Hang on, there he is. Let me get Ben in here right quick. There he is. Hey, my brother, how you doing?
I am doing great.
Out in the field, working.
Hello. Yeah.
Hey, Ben.
Man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I miss you, man. I was just telling these guys, you've been in Chicago, you've been all over the world. You've done a lot of great things for this country, and you're a true patriot, my brother. And I want to tell you how much, it's an honor to have you on the show with my team, Doc Shack and Andre Barnes.
No,
Ben,
great to be with you.
What's going on out there in the country today? Talk a little bit about what's happening with the illegals, because I know you and Tom have been together. You guys have been doing the ICE race. Talk a little bit about that and how you can see the changes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's night and day from Biden to Trump. Biden let in, just as a conservative estimate, 15 million illegals. And every single one of those you're paying for, I'm paying for, every single American citizen's paying for. They said they couldn't stop it. They said that this was, they were doing everything they could. What they did was actually entice them. They invited them. They had Secretary Mayorkas go around the world, create this whole controlled flow effort with the United Nations, and basically made it easier for illegals to come into our country. And as you saw in that last clip you just played, while American citizens, many of them veterans, many hardest hit, the Black communities across America, get nothing. They get abandoned, and you had illegals just being shipped in from every corner of the world. Since President Trump has taken office, first off, that invitation has stopped. The border is secure. I was just down on the border and in a spot in Sunland Park, New Mexico, where I was there, where there were 5,000 people coming across per day just in that section. Now it's virtually stopped. I mean, there's still a few here and there. The cartel's still doing their operations. They're still pushing drugs through. They're just using a lot more of the tunnels and driving them across the ports of entry. But as far as illegal traffic across our borders, it's gone down 99%. The biggest problem we have now are the 15 million plus illegals that we have in our country that are still victimizing Americans, that are still taking American citizen resources, and the administration doing their best to deport them. Again, riding our next episode of Law and Border, which will actually air this Saturday on Real America's Voice, is that it's actually the 3 ICE operations we did in Chicago, in New York, and in Baltimore. And the biggest problems they have right now are the judges and the cities, these sanctuary center cities like Chicago and like the state of Illinois, that are blocking them from being able to do their jobs. So, that's really the biggest problem. We've got to have prosecutions. We've got to have these politicians out of office. We've got to have prosecutions against the ones that are aiding and abetting foreign enemies that President Trump has declared foreign enemies. And so that's where we're at right now. But it's night and day compared to what it was just a few months ago.
You guys got any questions? Ben, go ahead, Doc.
I actually do. I was listening to Alex Jones the other day, and they were talking. I forget the gentleman that they had on, but he was talking about the children that have been trafficked and how they actually bring them across with documents, and then they'll take them back across the border, and then bring them back in the U.S., and they're just lost in the system. And he's, he said there may be hundreds of thousands of them missing, but they kind of know where they are. And what I mean by that is they've turned them over to certain people. Have you seen the drop in children go down across, with the crossings? I know the cartel is still doing what they're doing, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down, but I just wanted to get your perspective on that.
Well, and just to clarify that, the cartel controls it all south of the border and actually north of the border in Canada. The cartels, you think of the Mexican cartels as in Mexico, they actually are global enterprises. So they actually work in Canada. They work all over the world. They work in Europe. The Sinaloa cartel is in multiple countries around the world. They control all of that. And what I call it, what Border Patrol calls it, is recycling of the children. So they'll use a child that's owned by the cartel, whether that child was stolen, kidnapped from a foreign country or from Mexico, or they were given over to the cartel in exchange for money or something from the families. That happens often, sadly, as well. Then those children are used. They're given to men who come across the border. It's easier for a single adult male if they bring a child to be able to be let into the country than if they come across on their own. And so that during Biden, yes, that was happening to the extent that is really unfathomable to most people. Hundreds of thousands of children that happened to. We know of 80,000+ that are missing under Joe Biden, but it's probably, in the neighborhood of a million. I mean, if you actually took the unknowns. So children are still being exploited. Children are still being trafficked. Mostly now, though, it's being done in the areas outside of ports of entry, outside of Border Patrol control. Although the border is secure, there are still areas out in the deserts of Arizona and Texas where you can still get across and outrun the Border Patrol sometimes. And so that's still happening. They're still trafficking children across. But the recycling of children, where they're brought across with one man, they're sent back, and then it's done again. Just to give you an example, I was in Yuma, Arizona, and I was talking to Border Patrol there. This was during President Trump's first term and after Obama had left. And they said they had found a child that was recycled 13 times. So that child had come into their custody 13 times. This was at the facility, the Clint Border Patrol facility, where AOC went with their white pantsuit and was crying on the fence, talking about how the children were being kept in cages by President Trump. These children were actually finally being protected by President Trump. He was taking them out of cartel-controlled hands, out of these monsters, these molesters' hands that were using them. And when they use them to come across the border, they do whatever they want to them. So these children are being raped, they're being sodomized, they're being molested by these men because the men don't care, and the cartel sure as hell don't care. And then the kids were being sent back. And so what President Trump did by separating these kids, putting them in detention centers and actually holding them, trying to find houses for them through HHS, that was the most compassionate thing compared to what Joe Biden did. Now, what President Trump also did was he enacted biometric testing to test the men that were coming across with the children to find out if those children actually belonged to them. As soon as Joe Biden came into office, one of the first things they did was to end that biometric testing. And so President Trump, when he did it, he was attacked by the ACLU, said this was unfair, that this is an invasion of privacy. President Trump won that battle, and they were able to do the biometric testing. Joe Biden ended that. He stopped doing it to allow more children to be trafficked. President Trump has reenacted that, and so this is basically, we're seeing, that's the difference between the two. You had the most child trafficking in human history under Joe Biden and the least child trafficking under President Trump, both in his first term, and I believe we'll see that again now. So all of the trafficking in the areas where it used to be where they would go and present themselves, turn themselves in, and say we're here for asylum or whatever bogus claim they were coming up with. They've been coached by the NGOs, Catholic Charities, and all these Al Otro Lado. One of the worst churches is actually there in Chicago, Lincoln United Methodist Church. All of these organizations that aid and abet cartels and illegals coming across the border, that those operations have stopped. Now they're still getting funds. A lot of these organizations still have funds from the previous administration, and so they're still trafficking people. They're still trafficking children around our country. And so until we actually see prosecutions in the United States of these individuals and organizations, I'm not going to feel comfortable about it. But I know they are, Tom Homan and ICE, they are going after these children, trying to track down their last known address. But to your point, that what was happening under Joe Biden was a child would come across either in an adult's custody or not. Sometimes they would come across and say, this is my uncle, but I'm going to see my family. And they would have a piece of paper with an address on it. It used to be where they would have to go. I actually spoke to Carlos, one of these, the guys that was actually working for one of the NGOs that was taking the children and then transporting them to each location. They used to have to go and actually verify that this is the actual person. They would do background checks. Again, under President Trump's first term, they would do background checks on not just the person that they're going to, but everybody that was residing in that household. Joe Biden ended that. And so they would just send them to anywhere and then let them go. And many of those children went to one location and then were trafficked to another location. And that's how that's how it came to be. We got that number 80,000 where they're missing. We don't know. So what they're doing now is trying to backtrack and find out, okay, what was the last known address? Who was the person they were given to? But it's a massive, massive undertaking. And, to me, it's the most evil part of what was happening under Biden, that you would exploit children like that under the guise of compassion. You would have these organizations that were pretending to do good, but in reality, they were trafficking children to be sexually assaulted. That's what was happening. And that's what's still happening today by many of these organizations in the United States.
Ben, we here in Chicago, I was in a energy program, and we stumbled upon NGOs that was giving still dollars right to this day until they closed it off, shut it off. I was able to get in touch with Tom, them, and when the president froze the funding, they were getting millions of dollars saying they was helping the Black community, but the money was going to illegals and diverted to other entities, man. So we're starting to uncover these things, and that's why I say it's important that I can get with you and we can talk about this, because the world needs to know exactly how the NGOs are operating in the Black community. And I think the media is not, talking about it, but we're gonna talk about that. And also, I want to get with you. There's an event coming up in May. Maybe I want you to be a keynote speaker at. It's going to be a organization, all the organizations, street organizations getting together, trying to figure out ways how they can get the Black community and the Black family back on track. We did it in 2022. We made a lot of waves. We stopped a lot of crimes. This is something that Chicago, these are grassroots people. So we'll talk about that. And, some other things like the Black political prisoners and so forth. Yeah. Dre, you got a question?
Yes. So, Ben, I was wondering, what do you guys actually need out there now? The Border Patrol, because recently Speaker Jeffries came out and he said that their biggest thing that they're going to focus on is convincing the voters that they care about securing the border. So what kind of things do you guys actually need from them? Because we know how policies matter and can make the Border Patrol's job a lot easier. What would you like to see as far as enforcement?
The biggest thing is public support. And I think you're speaking of Speaker Johnson, not Jeffries. Thank God it's not Jeffries. But yeah, the biggest thing is public support. And that's partly why you see Jeffries and all these Democrats going out and getting all of this anti-Elon Musk, anti-President Trump, anti-ICE, all of these protests going supporting Hamas and all of these foreign terrorist organizations across America. That's why you see the Democrats and the mainstream media out there in all these major cities across America chanting and screaming and acting like the American people don't support what President Trump is doing and what the administration is doing. We need outspoken, in particular, inner city people coming out saying, no, we support President Trump. We support the administration. We support getting rid of illegals. By the way, this is what's happening in our community. We've been abandoned. This is what they've done to us. This is what our community needs. So that to me is the most important. Sharing the truth, our work versus the mainstream media. Anybody in your local community saying this is the reality of it, please share all of our episodes of Law and Border. And then anything out there that's showing the truth, the reality of what's going on, because this is what they did under President Trump's first term. They took the mainstream media, and thank God now we have social media that's actually on our side.
Yes,
Who would have
exactly.
thought that Twitter, now X, would be on our side, that Mark Zuckerberg would actually slow down on the censorship? A lot of this, there's a lot of movement, and now we have all these outside media outlets. Real America's Voice in President Trump's first term was a fledgling agency, a fledgling company.
Yes.
Now we're fairly massive. I mean, we're filling the void of the mainstream media. Obviously, podcasts and work like you guys are doing is incredible. So the more that this gets out there, but also in the streets, we've got to be able to go out there and counteract. That doesn't mean go out and be violent like the left is, but go out there and counteract and say, this is the truth. You guys, either you're being lied to or you're lying to people. This is what's really happening here. We support ICE. If you had that happen, if you had an uprising across America, in particular in the inner cities, saying we support President Trump, we support what they're doing, we support the deportation of every illegal from our community, that would shift the entire game. And so that would be my request to you guys. Anybody who can do that, let ICE know that you support them. If you know somebody is being harbored, if you know there's crimes taking place, you let ICE know. I mean, if you know there's illegals in your neighborhood, you can contact ICE and you can tell them this is what's happening in my neighborhood, because the city's not able to do it, or the city's choosing not to do it. The police aren't able to do it. In fact, it's a crime. Now even you can't even stop for you as a landowner or a landlord. You have to rent to an illegal. You can't even ask if they're an illegal. So everything that you can do as a citizen to be able to stand up and have a voice and say, this is what I believe and this is what needs to happen, that is extremely powerful. In particular, my motto has always been stand even if you stand alone. So if you're out there watching this or listening to this and you feel like we feel and you want to have a voice, and a lot of people always ask me, well, where do I start? You start where you are. And you take that first step. And whether that's going to a city council meeting, you guys have done an incredible job in Chicago of stepping up, and a small number of voices creating a huge uproar. You don't realize, I mean, you could take 20 people and shift the city. But even one person standing up and going out there, you walk out into one of these protests and you just start telling them they're liars and calling them out for what they are. You are incredibly powerful in that, or in your school board, or anywhere, wherever you have influence. The people that you have influence with, reach out to them, and that's it. That starts in your own family. It's like, hey, did you guys hear this? What do you guys think about that? Start the conversations locally with the people you have influence with, and then support any way you can. When you hear lies being told, when you hear protests that are going to be happening, go out there and confront them and stand against them.
Ben, I think that it's important because the work that you've done with the Black community here in Chicago, with Terry Newsom and myself, it's really showing right now. We went to the polls, we voted 47% for President Trump, but we need to get a process to where Blacks are being more conservative and understanding more about the conservative side. And Andre is Numbers USA. We would like to do an event. I would like for you to come and be a keynote speaker. The Black community here, and not only here, but in all other major cities, they're watching you. They're following you on the social media. They're seeing it. It's, like I said, it's a great opportunity for you to come on our show. I know we've been friends for the last couple of years, but to see that and to put the message out there, that we are one America now, man. That's what's needed. So
and I'm happy. We've got to figure out the dates, but I'm happy to do that. We'll figure out the details. But that's it. It's us coming together as one American. And the other part to that, to Andre's point or question, is as children of God, as Christians, we've got to stand up. This is a spiritual battle. Everything that we're doing here is a spiritual battle. This is good versus evil. This is light versus darkness. And if you're not right with the Lord, first thing is to get right with the Lord. Ask him what he wants to do, what he wants to do with your life. And then, as you said, Pastor, this is about us coming together, not white Americans and Black Americans and brown Americans, but all Americans, children of God. And by the way, as people who have compassion for everybody around the world, we're all children of God, but there are rules. There's order to the world. There's rules to heaven. There's a way to get into heaven. I mean, the God is the God of order. And so it's us coming together and saying, the way we start this is first, it always starts, God, family, country. So you get right with the Lord, you get right with your family, and then
Yes.
you work for the country. And so absolutely, it's us coming together as one people saying, all right, I'm right with the Lord. I'm restoring my relationship. So me as a husband and a father, making sure my relationship with my wife and my children is right. And then I'm able to have an impact in my community and say, okay, how can you use me? And the main thing is coming together and working together. One of it's the biggest tools of the enemy that I've seen over the last several years. They've been used in my life, but I see them all the time on the Patriot side, is division and distraction. We have
Mm-hmm.
so much division where we worry about who's getting credit, who's not, and who's a part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and who's not, or we just get distracted by something, that may seem good at the time. Stay focused on your mission, stay focused on what God has for you, and do your best to avoid division if you can. I know there's certain people that are working against us that are, that are
Yes.
in it for the wrong reasons, and they've got to be called out. But for the most part, if we can come together as a people and say, look, we may not agree on everything, we may not agree on this issue, but
Right.
on these issues we do. Let's come
Yes.
together on them. We will have such a much bigger impact than if we're divided and trying to do this all on our own.
And I think what we're doing with the grassroots, like I said, this event coming up, a lot of these street organizations, we talked about the black political prisoners. Larry Hoover was locked up for the ghost dope. I think that we bring in national attention to that. The way J6 was, the way we need to be the same vigilant way, because we have black men who are locked up with clemency numbers that are just rotting away, and they should not be in jail. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you helping me with that, because if we get with President Trump, because they got the numbers during the first Trump presidency. When Joe got into office, he just shut it all down. And so now that President Trump is back
Isn't
in,
that ironic? Isn't that
yes,
ironic? The Democrats
yes.
that claim to care about the inner city and the incarcerated and talk about second chances, they're the first ones to throw you back in and throw away the key. I mean,
Right.
it is. And you look at
Yes.
the inner city, and this is where I always say, like I said earlier, influence the people you have influence over. There's certain people that you guys can go to that I can't, that would listen to you, that won't listen to me necessarily because I don't have a relationship with them. And so
Yes.
to get into those places and to wake those people up and say, hey, this is the reality. As you said, I mean, you got people out there marching saying President Trump's a Nazi. Well, these guys are actually supporting modern day Nazis in Hamas. You got people out there saying President Trump's a white supremacist when he did more for the black community through the First Step Acts and through funding the black colleges and all of the stuff that he did. We just have to challenge these lies and say, this is a lie. This is the truth. And as you said, now, it's what's really crazy is I was there in Georgia when President Trump got his mugshot and when he was indicted down there. I was there in
Yeah.
New York City during the trial when he was found guilty. And I had more people, black people from the black community, come to me and say, I didn't support him then, but I support him now because they're doing to him what they've done to us for years. The injustice they see, the people see, there is this entire weaponization of an injustice, not a justice system, it's an injustice system. And if you fall into the wrong category, you will be picked up. And it doesn't matter. Now, obviously, in the black community, that's been the high percentage of the black individuals. But at the same time, you can see it can happen to the former president of the United States. And if it can happen to him, it can happen to anybody. So it just means us coming together and saying, where is the injustice? How do we right those wrongs and make sure this doesn't happen? And then apply, they talk about retribution. I just call it real justice. Apply real justice to the people that have been creating this injustice.
Yeah, I actually did have another question for you. So I wanted to get your take on what's going on with this whole criminal from Maryland and being deported to El Salvador. I mean, President Trump, day one, he says, we're going to use this act from 1798. So he's using legislation. He's not working outside of the boundaries of his actual duties. And they're fighting him on that. But the representatives from the Democratic Party that are now going down to El Salvador to support this person who has been found to be a part of the gang. He has been found to be a criminal who's been sentenced. I just wanted to get your take on what.
Yeah. Well, it's just a perfect illustration of the Democrats abandoning American citizens and supporting criminal illegal aliens. I mean, this guy is exactly where he should be. And honestly, to the Democrats that went down there, I just say stay. I'm sure they have some bed space they could leave you in. It's absolutely insane to me that we have people that have sworn an oath to our country that are working to undermine that oath. And these same people, you've got Dexter, whatever her name is, one of the representatives that's down there, so-called representatives, doesn't represent me, down there, who says that we're in a constitutional crisis because President Trump is doing his job and doing what Joe Biden should have done. Joe Biden should have never let these guys into our country. Now President Trump's getting them out of our country. He's actually doing his job. The biggest threat we have that we face in our country right now are not the enemies from without. They're the enemies within. They are the politicians.
Yes.
They're the judges. They're the DAs that have sworn an oath to our country and to our Constitution and are working to undermine that oath. So to Garcia, he's where he should be. He shouldn't have been allowed into our country in the first place. Right. The irony that these people say, well, he was given a judge's order. The only order that he was given was originally saying that he couldn't be sent back to El Salvador. And I believe that was before they knew he was MS-13. Right. He should be sent back to El Salvador. Every single MS-13 member should be sent back to El Salvador. But the fact that they've got people out there that are marching and saying he has to come back, that's the threat we face. If we don't deal with this, if we don't get rid of the people that hate this country, that are in our own government, our country's dead. This is national suicide. Yes. And you know, you may not like certain parts about our country, but I challenge you to travel anywhere else in the world. That's right. If our country falls, the entire world falls. There's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else with our Constitution, as imperfect as it is, for you to go and to get what you call justice. Right. So no, I think that that's our biggest problem right now. And right now we've got to give ICE the tools to be able to pick up every single person that's here illegally and to be able to send them back to their home country and say, we're undoing the injustice that Joe Biden did. He allowed these people in under false pretenses, extra constitutionally. I say we're in post-constitutional America. Now we're resetting that. We're righting that wrong that was done. Yes. So I'm 100% in support of President Trump on this, and Tom Homan.
Quick thought. Your thoughts on J.B. Pritzker. He's coming to the Congress on the 15th. Brandon Johnson, the mindless mayor, has went through and purged themselves. What are your thoughts about them actually getting incarcerated or charged with treason? Because that's what they're doing in the open. What are your thoughts on that, Ben?
Well, look, I was just down in Mexico for a week in Sinaloa, and I was talking to some of the locals down there. My guide down there was Aaron Ibarra. He's a local media guy down there, and it's the same problem they have in Mexico that we have in America. So they took the heads off the snakes of 29 of these 29 of the heads of the snakes of these top cartels in Mexico. And I asked him, well, is that going to make a difference? And he said, until you start arresting politicians, nothing's going to change, because the cartels, they have 1 million foot soldiers behind them that are willing to step up into that position. But until you actually take away the people that are actually getting paid off, and in some cases are actually running the cartels. Yes. That's from top to bottom in Mexico, but that's also, unfortunately, across our entire government. So until we actually see the arrest of people like Pritzker, of people like Johnson, I'm not going to feel like we're actually saving this country. I want to see it happen. I'm not going to hold my breath, though. Honestly, there's so much of the decisions that are made right now that are political, and I understand some of it. The biggest fight we have right now is to get rid of the rhinos on our own side. And so we've got a year and a half from now to get the primaries or the midterm elections and get the rhinos out and get strong conservatives in to both the House and the Senate, because all of the stuff President Trump is doing right now through executive order, it will all be undone if another Democrat takes office. So to me, it's about, okay, there is an optic side of this. I want to see those guys arrested, but I also want to see this stuff made permanent. And the only way that happens is if we have a House and a Senate that will pass legislation. And right now we just don't have that. We have too many rhinos, people on our side that claim to be on our side that are not on our side. And so I would say, if you back to Andre's question earlier, how can people get involved? Make sure that the next midterms, that we take back more seats in the House to get rid of any rhino Republicans that are in there, and you replace them with constitutional conservatives. Get rid of any of the Democrat traitors that you can, and replace them as well. So it's in my opinion, it's time for a new form of government. It's time. We need to pull that trigger, in my opinion, because if we wait, to your point, all the executive orders can be turned back over. They can go ahead and get their friends in and start, if you wash my hand, I'll wash yours. People are tired of this. But they want us to be at martial law, and they want us to fight against each other when it's them. It's not us. It's always the elites Yep, it's
Yep.
always the elites. Now,
It,
look, there is no better form of government, even as imperfect as it is, as our constitutional republic. But it only works if we don't have corrupt people in those
yes.
positions.
Right.
So we have
Yeah.
to clean house. I mean, I want to see 1,000 arrests from
Yeah.
judges' seats to DAs to politicians in the House,
Sure.
the Senate, and down to your local municipality. I want to see arrests across America. And until that happens, I won't feel comfortable.
Ben, you're going to
Yeah,
be here. Go ahead, Dre.
And Ben, another thing that we really have to focus on if we're going to get that long-term immigration legislation, so there's not that pendulum swing from each administration. We got to get to 60 votes in the Senate.
That's
and
right.
I can see that some of the pressure is coming down because like the favorability of the Democrats goes down each day that they continue to resist. So
That's right.
I'm trying to go to Congress. I'm going to Congress. I'm sending them letters. I'm trying to set up meetings with them to say, hey, like, what do you guys want? How can we work across the aisle? What would you like to see in a bill? But, you know, I'm going to keep beating that drum until we get some of these people that are willing to talk. And there are people that are willing to talk. There are Congress people that are willing to talk. So I'm going to keep pushing it. But like, we need 60 votes in the Senate.
Yeah, no, you're right. And God bless Numbers USA, the work you guys are doing. There's a few organizations out there doing some great work. So keep it up. But you're right. I mean, that's it. Sometimes you just keep beating the drum and eventually you get there. And in some ways, the left eats their own. You know, everything, it's biblical. What the enemy means for evil, God uses for good. And so sometimes, you know, I always say, pray about what you're supposed to do. And when God tells you to act, you act. And then sometimes he just says, step back and let them burn themselves down. So there's some of that has to happen too. But all of it, just do what you're called to do.
Ben, you're going to be here next week, right, for an event that Terry Newsom is having?
Yep. Yeah, I'll be at the Terry Newsom, and it's, gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the organization right now. But I'll be speaking on the 30th at night. There's a website.
We'll get the site out. I'll put it out.
Yeah, get the site up. You can still get tickets, and it'll be in the evening, I believe 7 p.m. And I'll be there.
Yeah, I know where it's at. It's over at the place that we had the last event when Tom was here.
Yeah.
It's like it's a huge place. So really nice. We'll be there. We'll promote that. I want to thank you so much for giving us this time, brother, because you know we needed it. And let us get together when you get here so that we can discuss the black prison, the political prisoners, and to the American people, patriots across this country. This young man is a true patriot to our country. I seen him at the DNC step on and put the fire out on a burning flag. And I kept thinking, I said, I was inside when you were doing that because, you know, I had to go speak. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm inside. He about to go to war, and I'm sitting in here. But you know what, man? God's blessing you, man, so much, man. I really appreciate having a good friend like you and a confidant, man. So whatever we need to do, let's get together on the 30th and make it happen, brother.
Sounds good. Look forward to seeing you guys then.
God bless you and peace. Have a great one. Thanks for being on the show.
You too.
Guys, that's good. I'm gonna play a clip of the show that they got coming up this week. Let's check it out right quick.
All right.
Ma'am, do you know the people that's trying to break into your property?
If you come in, I will shoot you.
Welcome to Law and Border, where we go to the front line to expose the truth about the real attack on America.
This is all actual footage that he took.
causing all this carnage. And these guys putting their lives on the line to protect all of you.
We're gonna have to check that out, y'all. Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. I
Yeah.
have a lot of respect for Ben, and I'm always praying for him and other individuals that get out there and really do this. You know, a lot of times they see shows like they're like, oh, it's staged. It's like none of the stuff he does is staged. I think
None
for
of
people
it.
to know that it is all real.
Yes.
And even his background, like when he like coming to meet with us, he's outside. He's not in somewhere safe. I hear like the birds chirping.
Birds chirping, yeah.
You know, like these are
He is getting it done.
birds. These are birds of prey. You know?
Right.
Well, you know, it's just ironic, man, that when we first met, Terry Newsom put us together. You know, he had me to interview with him, and it was just like a spontaneous combustion. We just locked in on each other like that. First, I think the fact that he's a man of God, I'm a man of God, and we sort of connected because our real issues was how do we come together and address the issues in the Black community, because they're looking at our community and they're seeing all the problems, and their whole mindset was how do we awaken Black America to open their eyes and see that it's the Black politicians that are actually helping destroy our community, man. So it's like I said, it's been a ride, man, knowing him and Tom and the work that they're doing. You know, I can pick the phone up and say, hey, where you at, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, just like this, he's here, man. So he's truly who he said he is. The events that we're going to put together, Dre, we're going to bring him in as speakers. What you think about that?
I think that would be great. And I think that he has like the right heart for this. Like he's going out in the field and doing it for real. And it's just going to be amazing for people to hear from him because,
yes,
you know, when I go and I talk to students, and he was talking about the recycling, I mentioned that yesterday in a presentation that I gave, and all their ears and their reactions just kind of perked up at that time because they had never heard that before. Wow. So getting people the information first, showing them the images, helping them to visualize what's actually going on the border is good for them because they're only hearing one side and they're not hearing about what's actually happening.
Well, Doc, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I'm grateful for the work that Ben is doing, like I said earlier, and you, Andre, and you, Pastor Lowery, just making sure that the community is awake because we've been asleep for so long.
Yes.
And we are still continuing to be lulled asleep by the mass media. It's like, you know what? It's time to break away from mass media and start watching independent shows like ours and, you know, Real American Voices. And just there's so many other outlets out there that really want to make sure people have the information so that they are on, not so much on their guard, but they have that knowledge so they can make better decisions for themselves and their families.
You know, I want to play a clip for our listeners and our viewers about Ben, because when Ben went undercover, you know, we were all concerned about him because, you know, he was in certain places. He never could contact us and stuff like that. And so, Doc, I got a clip of him being undercover. Let's play a little bit of that. And so the people can see exactly how he actually got his claim to fame was not about doing crazy stuff, but the stuff that he was doing for this country, it needs to be recognized. Check this out.
This Voice News, bringing you the real news on our way to Panama from Colombia.
He paid $30,000, $50,000 for this trip.
We just made it up this first big hill down behind me, and you can just see the people struggling. You've got moms with kids. There's ladies in their 80s that are coming across this way. You got infants, 1-year-old and under. And we're on day one. These people it may take them 6, 7, sometimes 20 days. It's unbelievable. This is what the Democrats are inviting. They say, oh, it's easy. You have a right to go anywhere you want. They don't tell them that you may die in the jungle. Those people are not prepared for what they're walking into. And they're going to try to take that baby. 60 miles through this, on top of potentially getting molested, robbed, child abuse. This poor girl back there is already passing out. We're 2 hours into a 6-day journey. They don't know what they're getting into. They really don't. They're trying to push her. She can barely walk. We made it to the top of the mountain. There's still another hour to go down, but this stuff is no joke. And this is literally the first 2 hours of the first day for these people that are making the journey across the Darien. And as we're heading down the mountain, you've got another group coming up hour after hour, day after day, non-stop. Non-stop. We just came back down, 2 hours back down, and this is just the tip of the iceberg for these people. The people at the back there that are already falling behind, absolute nightmare. It's a death sentence for many.
Guys, your thoughts on that, man? He made it through that journey, man, but he had to have some, he had to take some time off because it was rigorous. Your thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, it's just when I look at what people go through to get here, right? And that's the wrong way to get here, by the way. But just to see how desperate they are to get here. But then once they get here, they want to spit on this country. And that's because they don't have any respect for this country. Now, some of them might, but if they were to do it the right way, they would have more respect for this country. And living here would be better for all of us, inclusively. But this, it's just sad that people fight so hard to get here. And some of those people, we don't know. Some of those people could have died along the way.
Some of those people did die along the way. When he finally got to through it, he talked about us, and we talked about it privately, how the cartel was coming. They was raping the babies. Remember, he said the babies might get raped. He said they were raping babies. They were just raping the women, making mules out of them, putting drugs in them. He said that, because I remember some footage that I've seen that he got into it with some people, man, but he was with some others and sort of got out of it, man. But I'm telling you, that's what the American people don't see. They haven't seen that side of it. You understand what I'm saying? They see a few people crossing, but they don't show how, or have a reporter who would have the gumption to go undercover and so that the American people can actually see. And mainstream media, you didn't see that in mainstream media.
No. They're not trying to cover that.
No, they didn't. Go ahead, Dre.
Definitely not. They're definitely not trying to cover that. And I have to give props to Ben, because I remember I went to Brazil for like a study abroad. And there was a certain part of our trip where they gave me a machete and it was like cut through this jungle area as we're heading to this like waterfall. And I was in my 20s at the time. I was in the best shape of my life. I don't think Ben is in his 20s anymore. And he made that trip along with those other people. Like, man, hats off to him for making that trip, being physically fit, because I don't think I could make that trip right now. And as dangerous as that trip is, we also have to have some of these people take accountability, because I want to kind of give you guys a tale of two Uber drivers. So I had one Uber driver that's a Black American, and as much as she was saying that people need to start working across the aisle, she was also saying that, all these immigrants want to do is work. And when they work, you don't have to check behind them. So already, you can see that they've been brainwashed by a lot of different media and their whatever personal experiences they have. Then I have another Uber driver who he had a Jamaican flag in his Uber car. So I was like, probably Jamaican, and he had an accent. So I'm assuming he's Jamaican. But anyways, one of the things that he was saying is that how can people be here decades and not get standing here in this country? it's just to him, he felt like that those people don't want to pay the money to get a lawyer to get the job done. And I was like, well, they just pay the money. Now they want to look funny when people are coming and taking them out of the country. And I'm so tired of this term, disappearing or disappear people. I was like, why are we using this term in this way? Because that's not the proper way to use that word.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it makes people sound stupid. But anyways, they're being deported and people are feeling sorry for them. Yeah, they took a risk to come all this way. But those people that came here, they didn't come from a country that wasn't safe. They decided to take a gamble to go to a country where they can make more money. A lot of them were in safe countries. A lot of them were in like places like Panama and other countries that aren't as violent, that have a thriving nightlife. So for them to like, you know, try to put on to Americans and, oh, they're trying to come here for a better life. They decided that they wanted to economically change their life. And the Democrats and other elected officials, they told them that if they came here, they'd get all these benefits, and they took the risk. And I'm telling you, if I got the same offer,
I would do it myself.
The same trip.
Yep. I would myself.
Not now because I'm fat, but like 20 years ago, yes.
But you know, like I said, this is what the American people haven't seen. All this behind the scenes stuff, and this is why, guys, you know, we got our licensing now, our platform is ready, and we can start. But this is the type of information that's going to make our network differently from everybody else's.
Yeah.
The way we break things down, the guests that we're going to have, and the people that's going to watch this show is always going to be able to come away with some type of ideas on how America could become one, because that's going to be the goal for us. And for me right now, I think this is a very pivotal time for the Black community. And the reason why I'm saying that, because Black people have stood up and said, we're not going to longer be, we're not going to roll with the Democrats. We're going to see who the best candidate is from now on. We're not just going to worry about Al Sharpton and all this DEI crap, because it doesn't benefit us. And I think the Black community understands now we have to get involved with politics. We have to know the leaders that we are putting into office, because look at it here in Chicago. We got all these Black leaders, and they have done nothing to uplift the Black community. They've all been fighting for money to give to the aliens who are, I mean, you can't blame them, but they're fighting to be able to try to, right now, do what they need to do. Guys, go ahead on and talk a little bit. I'm going to get out of here. I got to take this call. Go ahead.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, to what Pastor was saying, it's really sad to see that a lot of the Black leaders, quote unquote, I'm not going to put the big giant air quotes up, what they've done to decimate these communities. But unfortunately, this is how I see it. The Republicans have used them to do it. They want to blame the Democrats for, you know, disparaging these communities, but at the same time, they're not running at the local level. They're at the state and federal level. So they're getting their hands greased to really destroy this country. So I'm like, no, none of you are off the hook for this. You are both culpable and responsible for leading our country down the wrong path. Now, are all the Democrats and Republicans bad? No, there are some good apples in there, but unfortunately, the bad apples have the microphone. And that's what we see.
Well, you guys, that was on Enrique Tartario. He's decided to come aboard on Let the Truth Be Told Network.
That's what I'm talking about.
We'll be discussing with him, him coming to the platform as well. So we're gonna have a star-studded lineup of good shows, and they're all gonna be informational. They're all gonna be about uplifting the American people, man, and how we can unite. He's gonna be here at that event that we're going to have on the 24th, Dre. I want you to come to. With all Doc, if you can. We all want to be there. I want to have all my people there to be speakers. We're going to talk about that because we'll do a Zoom and all like that. But this is the thing with the network for me. Information is powerful. Yeah. And with the right information, the Black community will be able to rise out of the ashes, because now if I know you're a thief and a liar, then I know how I can make my decisions on how to handle you. But if you deceive me, like we've been deceived by the Democratic Party for 60 years, then we stay stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Because every year what the Democrats did was say, you know what, I already know they're thieves, but you know what? I know they're a thief and I know what they're going to take. But if you're a new thief, I don't know what you're going to take. So I'll just stay with the old thief. And we have to get out of that.
We really do have to get out of that mentality. It's not, it's you know what? It's Stockholm syndrome. And we never really talk about that for Americans. We, we're just saying, well, we've got choice. We've got our voices. Like, no, we've got a lot of Stockholm syndrome going on both sides.
On both sides.
Like I said, nobody is free from this. Dre?
Sorry about that. So everybody's talking about the Maryland man with the union job and the family. But what about that guy that Ben showed us under the bridge? The one that's been abandoned by the Democratic Party, the one that's looking for a job. I wonder if he's still under that bridge now. Because if he's still under that, if he's still under that bridge, shame on the elected officials, shame on everybody else, because he's looking for a job. But what is going on? These elected officials are too busy to help this man. They want to go to a whole nother country and help someone that they believe civil rights were violated and his right to due process. But, what about this American's rights and his opportunity and his desire to get out there and work? Why are we putting everyone else above our own citizens? That's a problem that I have.
And you know what? That was the same thing that day. We was down in the Pilsen area, and Terry, Ben, Morris, it was a few of us down there because we wanted to get some footage down there. I'm sitting in the car, and these drug dealers, the police are sitting right there, and they're openly selling drugs in front of the police face. They walking around with taxpayer dollars, buying drugs, buying cars, and the police told us that we was parked there, that we was illegally parked.
That was going to come down on people that will follow the law, but they won't mess with people that are true criminals. My husband and I, we have this discussion all the time, and he's like, "You got to do something about the gun laws." And I was like, "But here's the problem: all the good people would give up their guns, but all the bad people are not.
They're not.
We need people in office that are going to get rid of the crime. Period. We're just not going to tolerate it. We're not going to tolerate gangs. We're not going to tolerate petty theft. We're just not going to tolerate it, like the president of El Salvador. If we were more like that, people, I don't want to say they'd be willing to give up their guns, but we'd have better gun control, because people we wouldn't have that criminal element. Then we could take care of the medical element. People are on SSRIs. Nobody wants to talk about that. They want, well, you just want to fall on the medical. Look, people are taking drugs that take down their inhibitions to actually respond to human nature, to their own conscience that would tell them, do not shoot this person. And it's completely gone. They'll shoot somebody and be like, okay, let me go get a burger. You know what I'm saying? Which is not a normal response, but that's what those drugs do.
But it's not, it's more to it than the drugs themselves.
Yeah.
It's not having any spiritual foundation. It's not having a conscience. That's what it is. And so when you aren't equipped with that, then you'll do anything. You have no conscience. Well, you just think that's part of the life that I'm living. If I got to kill somebody, I just kill them. Hell, I'm hungry. Let me go get a sandwich. You're not going to think about that, because they forget about it immediately and goes on to the next phase of their horrible life. So, we have to start seeing how we can counsel or help these people get some type of conscience to better themselves, because it's all the wars being fought in the head right there. That's what's being fought at. And if you have no foundation, if you have no positive thoughts, no memories of nothing being good to you, then you become a victim of society. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, folks, next week we're going to be at the function with Ben. I'll be there. And then we're going to make sure, but like I said, the station should jump off. We need to do our final stuff with that. I'm so happy, man. I'm tired of Facebook. I'm tired of all of that stuff giving me fake numbers and putting me in jail. That's over. The new platform is ready, folks. The Let the Truth Be Told network will be sprung in a couple of weeks. So, guys, your thoughts on it? We can get out of here, man. I love Ben for, standing in. He's always a man of his word. We're going to start having a lot of great guests. Once we get the platform up, I think Ben will become a reporter for us, and he'll come and give us updates on what's going on with ICE. And, we're going to really get the news out there. Your thoughts, guys, your last words so we can get out of here.
Well, I'm just grateful to be a part of the team and the Let the Truth Be Told network, and just really looking forward to bringing people the news on Unfiltered Vision News. And I'm going to be in the morning from 7 to 9, Monday through Friday. And like I said, I'm just looking forward to just giving people the actual facts and news, and actually giving you places to confirm the information, not just find the news. So that's what we'll be doing at Unfiltered Vision News. And again, when you see all these things happening, make sure you look up before, because your redemption is drawing near, and check out the USA Redemption Party at usaredemptionparty.com.
Thank you, sweetie, and we'll be talking soon. Enjoy your evening. Dre, your last words, man. I know you came in there a little late, but I was glad to see you come, man, because Ben will work with us and do what we need to do. We got the bevy of guests, so man, I'm excited.
Me too, and having been on the show and getting to meet him, virtually was very nice, and I appreciate you sharing the videos about some of the things that he's done. I think that we need that kind of pressure. We need people that are out in the field. We need people that are in the halls of Congress that are pushing the policies. But it's a combination of those things. And as I was telling Ben today, it's so important that we get to 60 votes. And if people have questions about how we can do that, please come to numbersusa.com, and we will you'll be able to go over our fact sheets. You can contact us directly and become a member, because the more pressure we can put on Congress, the better.
Thank you, my brother, and we'll be talking soon. Have a good evening. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. We had a great conversation with Ben BERGQUAM, and I want to say this. We have to get to a place where we get the truth. That's the reason why I created this network. The regular media, they hide, they lie, they don't explain things thoroughly so that you can get a good understanding. This new network with Let the Truth Be Told, it will allow you to do that. It'll allow you to get all sorts of information that will be part of our network. We'll do educational things. We're going to do the things that can help communities grow and find solutions to the problems that we have today in our community. And in saying that, folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm going to get up out of here. Y'all stand around. Enjoy your evening. God bless you. And we'll see you soon.